In this video, we install apps in Azure Image Builder with PowerShell. Hello everyone, I'm Travis and this is Thraltos. This is a continuation of a previous video on using Azure Image Builder portal integration. If you're new to Image Builder, be sure to check that out. Before we get started, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications of new content. Check out my courses on Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, and hybrid identities at udemy.com. The links are below. And thank you, channel members. Your support is appreciated. Back to it. In the last video, we built an image with Azure Image Builder's new portal integration. In this video, we take it a step further by using PowerShell tasks to install applications. Image Builder runs automated tasks to install software when it creates an image. To succeed, those tasks have to run silently with no user interaction. We use PowerShell commands to start software installation tasks in silent mode. But how do we test those installation commands? It takes 15 or more minutes for Image Builder to run. Testing each install command in Image Builder could take a long time. Instead, we use a test VM with the same OS. We log in and run the silent install commands interactively to verify the command succeeds without error or user intervention. Once we have our commands built and tested, we create a script that Image Builder will run as a PowerShell customizer. We also need application packages to build the image. These are software installation files. We should have those files as part of the testing. We zip those files into an installation archive used for the deployment. Both the script and archives are hosted in a blob storage account. Once we have our script and installation archive, we go into the portal and create the image template. Image Builder has to download the software archive before it can install the software. There's a file customizer, but that won't work for files over 20 megs. So we'll use inline commands to download and install AZCopy. AZCopy is a command line application that lets us download files from Azure storage accounts. We use an inline command to download and extract AZCopy. After that, we use inline commands and AZCopy to download the source archive file to the image build VM. Then we extract it to that build VM. Finally, we configure the script customizer to run the PowerShell script created previously that installs the software. We use a SAS URL for both the zip archive and the script to add security to the files hosted in the Azure storage account. A few things to keep in mind. The application has to have a silent install option. We can't respond to prompts when the Image Builder creates the image. Also, if the application requires a reboot, don't restart the PowerShell script. Split the commands into multiple scripts and use the restart customizer to reboot. After the reboot customizer, call the second script to continue the installation. If you restart from within PowerShell, Image Builder will think there's a problem and the build will fail. To follow along, you'll need a VM built with the same image you plan to use as the source for Image Builder. We test our installation commands on that. You'll also need a publicly available storage account. We're not using private endpoints for this example. The script and the commands used in this video are available at the links below. Let's jump into the test VM to get started. Here we are on the test computer. The idea with this is that we run through the steps in the script to make sure that the silent install runs without errors before we run it as part of the image build process. That way we can address any issues interactively. I have a couple example packages. We're using Foxit Reader and Notepad++. One is an MSI and the other is a .exe based installer. Let's add a new folder under the C drive called Image Builder. Next, we'll add our install packages to the Image Builder folder. There it is. We have our installer packages uploaded to our test computer. I have VS Code installed on this computer as well, so we can view the installation script. I'll have a link to the script below. At the top, we've got the location where you can get the installation files. I can't distribute them. You'll need to download them from the software site if you want to follow along. This file will run as part of the image build process. Coming up, you'll see we have a couple inline commands ahead of this script that actually downloads a zip archive file. We're going to build the zip archive file in a couple steps. When the script runs, the first thing you'll do is run a command that sets up logging. This is a simple logging function I added to the script. Let's run the logging region to add it to memory. Next is the Foxit Reader region. There are a couple steps. It's an MSI package, so we start with the MSI exec process passing in the install location with the quiet switch. We can also add other supported command line install options. Make sure the name of the MSI matches the one you downloaded. This is in a try-catch block. If there is an error, it will get caught and logged with a logging function. I also added a step that tests to see if the executable is in the installation location. These steps are optional, but it's helpful to have some logging if something goes wrong. All that's really needed, though, is the command line that does the silent install. Let's run this region. We'll give it a minute to finish. Okay, that's done. Once finished, go into the image builder directory. And we can see that we already have a shortcut on the desktop. That's a good sign. The logging shows Foxit was installed. And there it is under recently added. We'll go back to VS Code. If there was a problem, troubleshoot the installation and then uninstall and run the command again. It took me a couple tries to get this right. It's important that it does a silent install without any user prompts or errors. Next, let's go to the Notepad++ region. This is another start process command that passes in the installer location and file name. Only this time it's an executable. Make sure the file version you downloaded matches the command. That's a problem I ran into a couple times. I downloaded newer versions of the application and didn't update the installer package name. Different installer packages can have different command line arguments for silent installs. You'll need to consult with the software documentation. For Notepad++, it's a /s. And we could also add additional commands here if we wanted to copy a file or modify a registry setting. We just add the commands like we would with any other script. Let's highlight and run the region. That finished. Let's go back to the image builder directory. And the logging shows that the executable was found. And there's Notepad++. It shows it's installed, and we can even open up the application. There it is. Let's go back to VS Code. Good, those are installed, and those are examples of a .exe and an MSI application install. We also added some logging in there as well. Next, we're going to modify an existing file on the image build VM. Here's the problem that this is going to solve. If you followed along in the last video, you may have had to wait 15 minutes or longer for that test VM we built from the final image to start. It hangs at a waiting for Windows modules installer message. What's happening is the OS is doing a hardware scan. This is common after running sysprep. Because we generalize the image, it's looking for new devices and drivers. But we're using a virtualized VM. And as long as we're creating the image and deploying the image to the same hypervisor and VM type, we can tell sysprep to skip that step at the first boot. If we look at a VM that was created with an image builder image, not this one because we used a gallery image to build this. I took some screen grabs from the last VM I created. Here we have a deprovisioning script. Again, this is not the VM that I'm installing software on. These are screen grabs from a computer I built with an image builder image. If we look at that script, here we can see what image builder runs when it deprovisions the VM. Look at the sysprep command. It's running sysprep.exe with the out-of-box experience, generalized, run quiet, and quit. Let's go back to my PowerShell script. Here we're modifying the sysprep command. We replace the sysprep command with out-of-box experience, generalized, it runs quiet, and we add the mode:VM switch. Mode equals VM tells sysprep that the image we output will be on the same type of hypervisor. It's telling it doesn't need to scan for hardware changes, so it can skip that at the first boot. This is a good example of the flexibility we have with modifying the base image beyond just adding software. We can't run this section on the local computer because it doesn't have that deprovisioning script. Let's look at the next example. Here we're enabling time zone redirection by adding a registry value. We also check to make sure the value exists. Let's run that next. And we'll go to the log file. And the test we ran shows that the registry key exists. This is the software install script that we'll use for Image Builder. Next, we need to create an archive for the install files and any other assets required for our customizations. And in case you're wondering, yes, I did switch computers just for recording, but the process is still the same. Let's add Foxit Reader and Notepad++ to a zip file. This will be our software archive file. Let's give it the name software.zip. Once we have the archive, we need to upload the file to a blob storage container. Let's go to the Azure portal. I have a storage account in my Image Builder resource group already. Let's open that. We'll go to Containers, add a container. We'll call it Archive. And create. Open it, and let's upload that software.zip file. We'll upload. Once it's uploaded, we can close. Next, the Image Builder automation has to download this file to the build computer when it's building an image. To add some security, we need a shared access signature for that archive file. So on the way right, we've got 3 dots, and we're going to generate a SAS. I'm going to set this to expire in a year, and we'll generate a SAS token and URL. The SAS token acts as a password to authenticate access to the blob container. We'll leave it read-only. Keep in mind that in production, you'll have to renew the key before this one expires, or Image Builder will fail when it tries to download the software archive. I'll copy that. I'm going to save it for later. I'll just open up Notepad. You can see it shows that it's for the software.zip. We'll need this URL in an upcoming step. Once you close, you can't access that same key, but you can create a new one. So that's our software archive. Next, we need to upload the PowerShell script to a publicly accessible location. The VM Image Builder uses to create the image is on its own network. It needs to download the script, so the script has to be accessible to that VM. There is an option to use pre-configured VNets with Image Builder. In that case, you could host the script on an internal network. That's not the option we're using here. Let's go back and create another blob container for the scripts. We'll call this one scripts. We'll click create. We'll go in and upload our script. This is the one we just walked through on our test computer. And again, these scripts will be available. Just check the link below. And just because it's on the public network doesn't mean we can't have some security around it. If we scroll to the right, we'll generate a SAS. So we do have to have a SAS key to access this file. I'll set this for a year as well. And generate the SAS token and URL. Notice too, we just need read permission for this. So I'll copy that to clipboard. Now we have a SAS URL for our script. Okay, good. Now we have our archive and we have our script. Let's create the image template next by going to Azure Image Templates. We'll create a new one. And we covered most of these steps in the previous video, so I'll just kind of go through it fast. We need to set the resource group. We'll use the same one that we configured previously. That's the one our managed identity has rights to. We'll give it a name, Win10 Multi for this example. The region is Central US, Marketplace Image is our source, and for our image, we're going to select Windows 10. Enterprise version 22H2 Gen 2 multi-session. We'll scroll down. We're going to output this to a managed image. We'll give it a name, Win10 Multi for this. We can leave the rest. We'll select our identity. And again, that's the identity we assign to the resource group we're using. Now go to customizations. Here we'll set the VM size to the same family we're deploying to. Sometimes it defaults to a single core VM. I like to go at least 2 cores because we are working with Windows after all. Now we'll go down to customizers and we'll add our first customizer. This one is a PowerShell command. And let's take a look at the command we're going to enter in VS Code. This first block of code creates the image builder directory on the C drive. Then it downloads AZ copy After that, it extracts azcopy and moves the azcopy.exe file to the root of the image builder folder. We'll copy that, go back to the portal, and we'll add that inline command. The formatting looks bad, but it will run. Click OK. The whole purpose of that step is we're downloading that zip file using azcopy. There is a file customizer, but that's only good up to 20 megs. By first downloading azcopy, we can then use that application to download our bigger files. This step also creates that image builder directory at the root of the C drive. Let's add another one, and this too will be an inline command. Let's go back to VS Code to see what that command is. This command uses azcopy to download the archive file with the shared access signature and then expands it in the image builder folder. Let's replace archive URL with our SAS URL for the archive file. That was the first one here. We'll copy that and go back to the portal and add the command. We can leave exit codes and permissions and click OK. Next, we need to run a script. So let's go to Add a Customizer. This time we'll select PowerShell script, and we need a URL to that script. And again, the VM image builder uses to create the image is on its own network, so the path has to be public. We place that script into a publicly accessible blob storage account, but we still need that SAS key to access it. Let's grab that key. And here's a little trick. If you want to test either one of these URLs, open up a new web browser tab, and we'll paste in that URL. You can see it was able to download the file. So Image Builder should have no problem with that. We'll paste in that URL. There are optional settings such as exit codes, and you can provide checksum. We are installing applications, so set the permissions to elevated. We don't need to run them as a system, but that is an option. Click OK. If you have to restart as part of your script, you'll need to create multiple scripts and insert the restart commands between each. Don't restart within the script. If you restart within the script, that will cause Image Builder to lose connection to the VM and the build will fail. Restart should only take place with the restart customizer. You can run other customizers as well, update the VM, for example. Let's go to Review and Create. Once validation passes, click Create. This will take a minute. I'll pause here and come back once it's finished. That didn't take too long. Now that we have the image template, let's build our image. We'll go to Image Templates. Open the image template we just built. And we'll start the build. This starts the build process. It can take 15 minutes or even longer, depending on the amount of customizations you've added. We can keep an eye on the status by viewing the notifications. This will take a while. I'll pause here and come back once it's finished. That finished, and if we go to the resource group, we have our image. That's a good sign. Let's open that and build a VM from that image. We'll create. And just like in the last video, I'm going to go through this kind of quick. We'll give it a name, Win10 Test. We'll add a local username and password. Be sure to set the licensing type. And confirm. We'll go to Review and Create, and Create. I'll pause here and come back once it's finished and I've logged in. I'm logging in, and it's going to be much faster than my previous video where we had to wait for the Windows Modules installer. That's because we modified the sysprep command. Okay, here we are, logged in, and we can see Foxit PDF Reader. That's a good sign. Let's go into File Explorer. We'll go into the C drive. There's our image builder directory. And here we have all of our zip files as well as our extracted application files. That's good. And if we go into software install, it looks like our applications were installed and our settings applied. We can also just go in and open up one of the applications. That looks good. And if we go back to the root of the C drive, we can look at that deprovisioning script. That's the one Image Builder adds. Here you can see the modified sysprep command that uses mode:\VM. That's good. That indicates our scripts ran successfully and all of our customizations have been added. I hope that helps you better understand how to use PowerShell to add software with Image Builder. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.